Hey there! Bob from Oregon's Constant Gardener. Welcome to the OCGFAM show to you, my YouTube buddies. What's going on? Well, I know in the comments we'll talk about it after the show, but right now let's just get into the show. We've been talking a little bit about vegetable gardening, using Nectar for the Gods to really seriously enhance your vegetable garden, what you can do. And we've talked a little bit about that in general terms, but today's clip is more specific about certain vegetables and how you do them, what you do, and more importantly, what you shouldn't do with your Nectar for the Gods nutrients in a Nectar for the Gods grow in your vegetable garden. I think it's some good stuff, and I think you'll find it useful, and I'd like you to watch the clip. I'll talk to you after.
So what, if you watched all 900 or so episodes of the show, what would be a couple things that you shouldn't follow if you were using our advice on?
Bloom chaos is one that if you're not going to drive, I mean, plant, don't get me wrong. You want a lot of bell peppers? Spray that a few times on your bell pepper plant while they're flowering. But it's the whole process is a little bit different. So it's, I would reduce the 17 products down to about 6 if I'm going to really go for it.
Yeah, okay.
I'd say the most would be the feed, flush, feed, tea for garden beds is probably a little bit of an overkill.
Yeah.
I mean, you definitely don't need to give plants that much food. Most of these plants don't need the nutrition level that cannabis or, maybe tomatoes can pull that off.
Still,
but
not
I wouldn't
compared,
feed them 4 times a week with 1,200 parts per
well,
million of
and
food.
they're in different soil for most people.
No, I mean, this is literally number 4 soil and 4 shot.
But do you think people are using such a aerated soil? I mean, such a so much pumice and perlite in their soil when you get it from the garden
for
store?
aeration, they dry out faster. I mean, my beds will last longer in moisture content because of the organic matter. But I think the biggest mistake would be is feeding frequency and intensity that you do in indoor cannabis to the outdoor world.
And so if you would say that one shot and then Medusa, Gaia, then maybe Herc, Zeus, some of those things. So Zeus, Athena's, Demeter's where do those fit in? Those three?
Demeter for anything you've ever had calcium deficiencies or blossom end rot. I mean, peppers are notorious for the big brown end.
Yeah.
Tomatoes definitely are the worst culprits of calcium.
Green, rotten.
Yeah, or they're starting to ripen in a big black spot on the end, and that's literally because that blossom, as it's detaching from the little tiny green ball, it breaks off, leaving broken cells, and as it grows, those broken cells just continue to rot the bottom of the
tomato. You see those little cracks, and then there's stuff gets in there, and it's literally rot.
It is. It's literally, the cells should have healed themselves, and when that blossom falls off, the end of the tomato has rotten cells, so there's your blossom end rot.
Okay.
Calcium prevents that. Calcium keeps those cells strong. When that blossom falls off, that healing becomes a hard calcified end, so it doesn't end up rotting on you, and you don't get a huge amount of waste. I don't know how many years I spent battling pre-Nectar when I worked at Down to Earth.
Everybody
just getting the blossom end rot. It was like, how do you avoid this? And it's oyster shell. Oyster shell. It's like, oyster shell's about as available as this cardboard.
You eat some oyster shell and see how it goes.
It's great if I'd done it for 20 years. How do I fix it this year? And literally Frank's like, you want to use this Demeter's, which back in the day was liquid calcium. And it does. It stops blossom end rot. It prevents it on tomatoes and peppers. So, I think that's one of my favorite in the garden because it's activating nitrogen. It's releasing nutrition in the soil, and it's preventing all these blossom end rots on all of your tomatoes and peppers.
Would you use Demeter's over either Gaia, Herc, or Medusa, or if you were doing tomatoes, would you use some Demeter's, or that would be an addition to?
It'd be an addition because with Herc, I want flavor, and Herculean bone meal and tomatoes equal flavor. There's just no question. Okay. That's why they stole. I wasn't using Demeter's back then. It was all bone meal, liquid Herculean, calcium.
Where would Athena's fit into a garden?
Pretty much as a maintenance food and upkeep, a protein to feed your microbes in the soil, a once every week, once every other week, maybe just giving it a dose to just put amino acids in the soil. If you're using good, clean compost, you got a lot of these things already naturally occurring. This would just boost different areas of the garden to kind of give them a little extra health, a little bit more energy, and that plants never are upset at having extra amino acid proteins.
Zeus juice, does it fit in the garden?
Yeah, but minimally. Again,
it's not worth the trouble to buy a whole bottle to put a teaspoon into this whole bed, right?
Well, I'll go through maybe a half a quart on all 10 of these beds this year. This is Zeus waiting to happen. So as this is breaking down and becoming darker and darker, the more black you see on your hand, that's more humic acid. These are all humates. And so I'd rather have the humates built into the soil than having to try to supplement them with liquids. Now, there's nothing wrong with adding Zeus into your regular feeds. Won't hurt a thing. It actually will help condition this soil to make it more humic rich down the road. So there's still a huge benefit. But I mean, if going back to the budget guy, I would leave that one out of my budget if I'm budgeting my feeds for my outdoor garden.
You may have a quart from your other side of your garden that you're never going to go through, and you might as well put some of that here, but you wouldn't buy it fresh.
No, I mean, I'd buy Pegasus fresh for my corn, tomatoes, and peppers before I bought Zeus for the whole garden.
So...
But Zeus is good. I mean, it's hard to... I mean... It is one of the main four, but you don't need a lot, is all I'm saying.
Aphrodite's, no...
It's not the same
really,
with most vegetable crops. So,
different with,
Yeah, I mean, what I do see is when you have fruit on, that's when you want to start hitting them and getting more flavor from that. But it's really... your bone meal is going to be your flavor punch in most of your vegetable crops. We're not... I mean, I guess these strawberries, I'll let you know at the end of the season, because this set of strawberries is like, they literally taste like sweetheart candies. And these are just run-of-the-mill, you know...
Strawberries.
Yeah, these just are the kind you put in a shortcake. Totally different flavors. So, curious, if I started treating this side more with the proteins of nitrogen and this side more with just bone meal, how is that? Because I have a really good palate for both these tastes like last year, to see what they taste like this year just by changing up their offering, by giving him more Afro, maybe some Pegasus, seeing if that enhances that. But I'll let you know towards the end of the year.
Okay! What do you think of that? Informative? Entertaining? Helpful? Agree? Disagree? Let's talk about it in the comments. And also, we're getting ready to do another viewer questions episode out in the garden. So throw your general questions in there. Life, the universe, everything, gardening, whatever. Let's talk about it. I love you. I'll see you tomorrow. The OCG Fam Show. It's pretty good. It happens every day. It's the OCG Fam Show. See you tomorrow.